There's no stand for this. I just don't know what to do with Jonah's whip. Maybe we'll just put it here off to the side. And it's uncomfortable, Jonah. It's uncomfortable. Welcome. Welcome to the CEI dinner. Thank you all for being here. Thank you especially to so many of our generous supporters. These are the people who share our principles and really value getting something done. We have a great night planned. As you've already heard, Jonah Goldberg is here to light up the evening as our ringmaster. I'm sorry, we're going to have all sorts of circus jokes tonight. He's become something of a one-man media conglomerate. Of course, there's Twitter, where he takes on all comers, sparring with the best of them. He also talks about his adventures as a dingo wrangler. We find him on TV. He's hosting multiple podcasts, most weeks, multiple podcasts. And he's everywhere on tour with his latest book. Like Jonah, our keynote speaker, is also a pretty busy man and a very articulate defender of free market values. However, as you've heard, serving as director of the Office of Management and Budget, that's not enough for Mick Mulvaney. For the past 7 months, this guy's been moonlighting as the head of an unnecessary and unconstitutional agency. We know he knows this because he even took the step of renaming the place so that regular folks know that it's not really there to help. It's the Bureau of Consumer Financial Protection. And I tell you, there's nothing scarier, folks, than another government bureau focused on your finances. Now, some of you might find it odd or uncomfortable to have a leading critic of our president and a member of the cabinet share the stage tonight. And I'd like you to think about that. One critiques bad policies, and the other is out there every day implementing good policies. That sounds a lot like CEI to me. We argue for meaningful changes that will constrain the regulatory state and promote individual liberty now and for future generations. Mick Mulvaney has taken charge of the administration's regulatory front line, and he's leading a systematic and purposeful regulatory revolution. Both of these men understand the profound importance of the lessons from the late economist Julian Simon. And that is primarily that our greatest resource is the ingenuity of mankind. So later this evening, we'll present CEI's highest honor to a man who shares that work and shares that vision of hope and optimism for the future, Hernando de Soto. He's an evangelist for property rights, and more important to me, is he does the nitty-gritty work, the hard work, to get in there and transform the lives of millions of people in need. So tonight, we're all here to celebrate. I know, despite the discourses on metaphors, that Washington is a circus and that freedom really is the greatest show on earth. So laugh, cry, cheer, do it all with a sense of wonder of people who are taking on their own life on their own terms. Because we know most people, most of the time, they're going to make the best decisions about their own lives. We don't need an instruction manual from the Code of Federal Regulation, for the few of us who even know where to find that. We also don't need hundreds of regulatory agencies micromanaging nearly everything that happens in the American economy. We do need a little more confidence from just about everyone that democratic capitalism can thrive without government intervention at every turn. So this is what we believe at CEI. Whether it's lawmakers, administration officials, judges in the courtroom, or simply our friends and family, we argue, persuade, poke, jab, and ultimately, we're bringing others along to join us in support of the miracle that is a free people living their lives in harmony with others. Now, I said we have a great night planned, and it appears from the last half hour or so that some of you got started early. That works very well for me because I'd like to toast some of my colleagues' work from the past year. For the first time in decades, the onslaught of new federal regulations is slowing down. This doesn't mean that our massive regulatory state isn't still a problem, but progress has been made. The administration has even gone so far as to codify and address what Wayne Cruz calls regulatory dark matter. That's all the memoranda, the guidance documents, all the special ways that regulators like to go right around Congress. I'd like to point out a quiet hero who has been vital to this effort. She's with us tonight, and Naomi Rao, thank you for what you're doing. So what else? Under this administration, the EPA initiated 22 deregulatory measures in its first year. And where was CEI? We were right there, providing the analysis to roll back rule after rule that has threatened Americans' access to affordable and reliable energy. I call 22 a pretty good start. Over at the Federal Communications Commission, with the long-standing support of CEI scholars, Chairman Pai has introduced transparency, and as we might expect from a Chicago guy, stronger economic analysis. He's also put a stake in the ground for internet freedom and innovation by replacing the Obama-era net neutrality rules. Who knew that net neutrality? Who knew? Finally, in our legal system, too often class action settlements provide little or no relief, while lawyers walk away with a windfall. CEI's been out there changing the class action system. In the fall, you'll see us arguing at the Supreme Court when they hear Frank v. Gauss. It's one of more than 24 cases in the CEI portfolio that are the result of patient, painstaking work to identify, bring, and win the cases that change the law of the land. In this past year, CEI has been active on 3 cases at the Supreme Court, and I'd like to mention one of them now, because we have with us tonight Mark Janis and his attorney, Jacob Hubert. Just made my next paragraph redundant. Mark is, of course, the plaintiff in yesterday's landmark decision to restore worker freedom and vindicate the First Amendment. Thank you, Mark, for standing on principle and taking the fight where we all need it to go. So when the lights go down in our days under the big top end, there will be a history of this regulatory revolution. And when that story is written, it's the people in this room who will carry the story. We can create a world where the focus of our lives becomes bigger than the politics of every day. It's a world where law and regulation no longer gets in the way of how you choose to let your life unfold. So I'm going to ask, if you're new to this, step right up, get your tickets to the show, Join CEI in the great noble challenge of our generation. And if you're an old friend, always remember, it's okay to have fun at work. It's okay to expect to win and to celebrate what was previously unthinkable. Again, thank you all for being part of this night and being part of the success at the Competitive Enterprise Institute.